Award-winning futurist researcher and keynote speaker Nikolas Badminton joining us on Canada Now for his weekly visit. And Nick, this week we look at how everyday products are causing men's sperm counts to plummet. Are we on the brink of a fertility crisis?
Crisis might be a strong word, but there's definitely changes over time. I mean, Dr. Shanna Swan is an environmental and reproductive epidemiologist, and she hypothesizes in a sort of a very dystopian way, which I kind of love dystopias, but this is strange. Men will no longer produce sperm by 2045. I don't think it's that easy to just, stick a flag in the future and then suddenly say that. But, we're in a world where there's lots of things that are affecting our fertility.
Yeah, and we could point to many different directions, as we have over the years. You would look at if smoking and drug use would have an effect, binge drinking, obesity, stress, age, occupation as well. But Swan believes that chemicals from plastics are getting into our bodies, impacting our hormones, and lowering the body's testosterone.
That is hugely worrying, right, Jeff? I mean, how many things on sort of a daily basis do you come across? And after the pandemic, when you're out in the wider world as well, that are literally single-use plastics or the plastics in your home. We're very sort of vigilant these days around non-BPA and all that good stuff, right? But, with so much out there, especially when we travel to different countries with different levels of regulations around these things, we're probably putting ourselves in harm's way quite a lot of the time,
It would explain the unexplained, because there's a lot of that out there. Couples who struggle mightily to have children are diagnosed with, quote, unexplained infertility when doctors can't determine the specific reason for it. And that accounts for 20% of those who can't conceive. And in the U.S., that's 1 in 10 couples. So there's got to be some explanation as to why that's happening. And Swan may have found the reason.
Yeah, or certainly one of the reasons, right, Jeff? I mean, it's definitely a lifestyle thing. Let's be honest about it. And, you sort of, what is it, when we know couples that are trying to have kids, they clean their lives up pretty significantly, and they're very specific, and they timed it. I had a kid last year. We timed on a monthly basis when everything was going to be perfect, whereas you might see some people that just accidentally got pregnant, but obviously love their kids and whatever.
Yes, yeah.
But there's a knock-on effect, Jeff, that I think is really interesting to talk about, right? This is societally, right? And the dynamics of couples is hugely flipped on its head. So infertility is one of the primary reasons for divorce among couples, right? Not being able to have kids. Yeah. Up to 60% of infertile individuals reported psychiatric symptoms. And higher levels of anxiety and depression than fertile individuals, right? This is out of the US. Nearly 41% of infertile women have depression. Almost 87% have anxiety. And those women who get pregnant via IVF have a higher chance of giving birth prematurely. So this is a really complex situation around fertility, but also people that are trying to get pregnant, people that don't get pregnant, whatever, it's causing a very tough situation to happen from a societal perspective as well.
Yeah, well, and you highlight the domino effect there. Like if Swan is on to something here, then this could be a problem in many different ways moving forward that affects not only men but women. So any food, getting back to the plastics, any food product that is passed through a soft tube in the manufacturing process has likely absorbed harmful chemicals that could creep into our bodies. So what do you think, Nick? Do you think that we could see a rise in the consumption and demand, let's say, for organic food?
I think that there's going to be a huge amount of transparency of, whether it's foodstuffs, whether it's toothpaste, whether it's, any kind of canned good or whatever, huge transparency of where that came from, how that was packaged, where it was packaged, who packaged it. And this is really important. There's already a lot of people, about 120 people die of foodborne illnesses in the States every year, like from lettuce. It's So this is the failed industrial complex that we find ourselves talking about most weeks, right?
Yeah.
And we ultimately live in a toxic world where you've got huge populations and you have to move lots of goods around in small tubes or boxes or cans or whatever. And if we're putting things inside our body like food or putting things on our skin, we just have to have a new level of vigilance today. Vis-a-vis, that leads to the anxiety or the worry, or I've got friends that don't use deodorant. I've got friends because of heavy metals, or all sorts of things. And to be honest, these consumer packaged goods industries have gotten away with all of this for a very long time, and this is indications to me, and it's a signal that a reckoning is coming.
Okay, so is part of that reckoning? Does the government have anything to do with that? Because Swan believes that we need entirely new products made of safer materials. And by the way, it's not just the guys that are putting themselves in harm's way. Women have a part in that as well, because this is affecting males that are still in the womb. Chemicals get into a woman's body, then into the testicles of the fetus, and change development. So if Swan is looking at, hey, we need to rethink everything here, one would think that's going to take government intervention.
I'd like to think that governments would read things like this and intervene, but the lobbyists and the people that fund political campaigns, this is why lobbying exists. It's why the oil and gas industry spent hundreds of millions of dollars. This, remember the film Thank You for Smoking? This kind of thing. It's like, it's fine. Look at the doctor in the 1950s recommended that you can smoke, smooth smoking menthol Lancasters or whatever, right, Jeff? It's like everything's fine. I wrote a presentation a few years ago called "Relax, Everything Is Okay," and it was about how everything is deeply broken in the world with the industrial complex, lobbying, transparency, and politics has failed us in exactly these kinds of areas as well.
When you give a presentation like that, Nick, what's the reaction towards the end? Are you blown off? Is there obvious worry that you can see that they might be reflecting back at you?
When I work with clients, I build hope. We're hope engineers as futurists, but that particular presentation was to a group of futurists, and it's absolutely terrifying to everyone, right? There is worry, there is concern. Yeah. But what's really useful is that it sparks debate. And that's really important. At the end of my presentations, a lot of the time, someone comes up to me and they're shaking, literally. It's like, oh, I can't handle the fact that everything's going to change. And other people are like, yeah, I'm going to go and quit my job and then work out what I really want to do to help build a better world, right? Yeah. So, and that's a true story. That happened to me in Toronto about 3 years ago. After an event, and several months later, this girl that had quit her job because of a presentation I gave came up to me, and she was doing a master's in technical entrepreneurship at the University of Waterloo, and she was like, "Thank you, Nick. You liberated my mind from thinking about these old school worlds of regulation and whatever, and slow moving." And hopefully, she's out there building the next $1 billion sustainable, environmentally friendly food business or something.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we've got to rethink plastics if we want to keep multiplying, apparently. Check out NikolasBadminton.com. Futurist researcher, keynote speaker, Nikolas Badminton. Always a pleasure, pal. We'll talk to you again next week.
Stay fertile, Jeff.
Oh, I am. I am immensely fertile. Honestly, I think that's why my wife married me to begin with. It's just because
yeah, anyway.
I've just grossed out the entire audience. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.